the central banking digital currency becomes like the main priority for someone else who's running, let's say like the next election cycle, do you think that that's going to be a really big conversation for either side of the aisle? Like there's no way to kind of ignore this path forward to crypto, or do you think it's not there yet? It's not like a formidable opponent enough to the current fiat that it's not going to be a conversation.
I'm like a normal dude, grew up in North Carolina. There's zero reason why I should know any politicians, talk to any politicians, do anything with politics. I think it's all stupid. I've talked to more politicians because of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency than most people will ever in their lifetime.
Oh wow.
And some of them are very, very big proponents of it. So
Uh-huh.
there's current politicians, Senator Lummis, Congressman Emmer, Congressman Davidson, you can just go down the line. There's, a ton of them, both sides of the aisle, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, everybody. But the current politicians aren't really the story. The current politicians, I think people know where they are. Elizabeth Warren hates crypto,
Mhm.
right? Somebody like a Ro Khanna or Senator Lummis, et cetera, they like crypto. Okay, got it. It's the challengers, the people who are the candidates for these political offices now. Every single one of them in the country that is running on some kind of pro Bitcoin, pro crypto, platform, they're all reaching out to the crypto community, and they're like, "Look at me, look at me. I'm pro this, I'm pro this."
Mhm.
And the first one, I was like, "Wow, that is
Yeah.
awesome." The second one, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." By the fourth or fifth one, I was like, all right, I got it. This is now going to be a thing that they all have to do, because if you're anti the technology, you've got zero shot of winning.
Mhm.
And
I
so
think so too.
now you basically get like the social pressure, right? Where and as with most technologies, if you went into I don't know, the House of Representatives today and you said, all right, everyone sit down, you're gonna have to take a test on technology literacy. 80% of them fail. Easy, like right out of the gate, they all fail. And some of it's because they just are out of touch with it. Some of it's because they don't have time. They're doing other important things, whatever, for whatever reason. They're not very literate when it comes to a lot of this stuff. But the young people who are running for these political offices now, they are literate in many of these technologies. But are they actually literate in the true value of it? Or are they simply literate in the talking points of, oh, Bitcoin is good because, I read somewhere that I'm supposed to say this so that I can get elected? And
Mhm.
that's the big question is we don't know, and you've got to do the work to figure out each individual candidate. So it's no longer a kind of an outlier platform. It's no longer something that really makes you stand out. It's now become a consensus type view that you have to have, because if you run on any other platform that is abrasive to the industry, you're just not going to get elected.
That's interesting because I still was kind of, and I'm not like super deep into that world on either end. It's just kind of what gets fed to me on my Twitter feed. So when I see someone talking about it, or I'll hear about like a popular politician that I maybe thought was like really old school and just out of touch, and they're like pro Bitcoin, I'm like, that's so fascinating. Like they have this huge shot and advantage, and I didn't know that there was just kind of like the normal consensus that they have to kind of be on board or not, which is also why I think it's so interesting that Elizabeth Warren is so vocal about being anti. Because I'm like, that just seems like you're the outlier in that and holding that position.
Yeah. I mean, she has some unique views. I don't agree with her on very much. And I know that she's intelligent because I've seen a lot of the work that she's done pre her political position. And it is impossible for you to conclude that she is dumb from that work. And so you begin to wonder how much of the current positions is attention seeking or grandstanding versus things that she actually understands, right? And a perfect example is probably famously or infamously, she came out and said that grocery stores were price gouging.
Uh-huh.
And, grocery stores have a 3% profit margin. It's literally one of the most horrid, kind of razor thin margin businesses to compete in. And to pick on them of all companies is just kind of like, all right, you just can't possibly believe that if you've taken a half a second to do any research. On top of that, if you rail the Wall Street kind of financial firms and say, hey, you guys have no transparency. No one holds you accountable. We don't know what you're doing. There's too much risk in the system. You're not collateralized. All these things that she's been saying for a decade, which, by the way, she's right. It is true. What is she saying there? But then you can't turn around and then rail against the crypto people or the Bitcoin people and say, hey, you're bad actors, you're this, you're that, whatever. She's essentially just copying and pasting her complaints against the legacy financial system and then bringing it to this new world. But if you understand the difference in how it's structured, actually these technologies solve those problems. She should be the biggest proponent of them.